Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Quran Lessons for the Infidel. With the usual assemblage here to help me out. I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't know the depth and breadth of Surah 2, the cow. When I wrote the first blog post about this, like 4.5 years ago. But well, we're gonna be diving into it now. We did part one because this is such a long story. We did part one last week. We're doing part two of that this week, and I don't know how much further it's going to go. I thought we were going to be able to do it in one part, then two, and now it's looking like three. So we'll see how it goes. Bogey, take it away, please.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, the cow is big. And I mean, if we're going to keep it to a reasonable length, then we're probably going to have multiple parts here to get through the cow. Last time we went in until verse 67, and 67 is kind of a cliffhanger, and that was not by accident. Um, in 67, Moses received the revelation that he is to sacrifice a cow. And once we read through this section, we'll find out why was Moses um, receiving this revelation and what's the use of sacrificing that cow. Um, the segment that follows the cow sacrifice is between 267 to 271. So we'll just go through it relatively quickly. To 67, 68. So the people of Moses come back to Moses and say, well, Moses, ask your God about this cow. And about this cow, like, tell us more about this cow. So it says, well, this is a cow that is not too old and not too young. It uses the word bikr, which is the firstborn, but I think it's more meaning that it is just too young. Middle aged, so do what you're told. Do what you're told is go and sacrifice the cow, right? We will see why this is too urgent. This is so urgent for Moses. So Moses' people go back to him and say, well, Moses, no, go ask your God to tell us what color this cow is because we're kind of like confused. There are too many cows around here. So Moses tells them that his God is telling them that this is a yellow cow. It's a bright yellow cow, and it looks really nice because it is bright yellow. Okay. So this is 69, and in 70, they still come back to Moses. Hey, Moses, we got all the yellow cows, but we don't know which one. So, what is it? What does it look like? What? Yeah, and if we figure it out, we will be doing this, but we need to figure out which of the yellow cows we should sacrifice. So Moses goes and asks Allah for more information about the cow because he has to be precise, right? You could have. It's the funny thing is they could have sacrificed any old cow from 5 verses ago. Any old cow would have done the trick. But no, they wanted to make it specific, more specific, more specific. We're down to the color. We in 1671, we're down to the blemishes. We're down to the behavior of the cow. It's a sound cow with no blemishes, and then it does not like to pull the plow and stuff like this. So it's a it's a I'm a cow, don't bother me kind of cow. And now they say, oh, okay, we got it, and they slaughter the cow, and they almost didn't do it. He's talking about, of course, the Israelites, the people of Moses, right? And then in 72, we realize why this whole saga is unfolding in front of our eyes. Why is this cow so specific, and what is its sacrifice for? It says 72, and if you killed somebody, aka if somebody got killed and you couldn't figure out who done it, then Allah will bring forth what is being hidden from you. That is 72. And then in 73, we figure out why this cow is being slaughtered. So Allah tells Moses to hit him with some of it, aka with a slice of the cow. Hit whom? Hit the dead person with a slab of cow that they just slaughtered 3 verses ago. And thus Allah will bring the dead back to life and shows you his miracles.
Wait, I'm lost. Somebody help me here.
Okay?
You're being told to pummel a dead person with a stake,
Exactly.
Yes.
and thus
The
God
dead
will
person
bring the dead back to life by
back to
beating
life,
us with a stake.
and then the dead person will tell you who killed him.
And do you notice that the Israelites here are already settled? They are not wandering.
No,
And
yeah.
Moses is still alive. They're settled. They have agriculture. They have cattle that it's not easy to move. Cows are not very easy to move through the desert. So that maybe it's a contradiction in the story here between the wandering and the settling. They already settled. They already have town. They already have a place to fields to plow, and they have sources of water to have to pump out and everything, and they're already going through having a murder mysteries all around towns.
Yeah. So this is a mirror image from the biblical and from the Torah's exactly same story of you can revive the dead and ask them who killed them by slapping them with a slab of cow. And I read an article a few years back about a Jewish group, like it's an organization, that dedicates itself to finding this holy cow by breeding it out. No, they really do. And sometimes they come so close, it makes the news. So, and they consider being able to rebreed this cow as a sign of end of times. So, hence the modern day reverberation of this.
Okay, I'm gonna read a couple things in the side chat here. Anton Gomez gave us 50 pesos. Thank you so much. Why is this surah so long? When I started studying the Quran, I had a lot of trouble at the beginning. So give us a quick rundown of that.
Well, this surah is this long because it shouldn't be in the beginning. So it is the second surah in the book because Muslims who are already indoctrinated into the religion wants the legal and legislative parts because those are important for them. For somebody who wants to just study the Quran, the legislative part comes after the theology because without the theology, it means nothing. Right? It just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't make much sense anyways, but without the theology, it really, you struggle with these constructs.
No, I read through the theology and I'm still struggling. So
Oh.
Anton Gomez also asks, does this have any ties to the escape goat ritual?
No.
Okay.
The scapegoat is a Jewish temple ritual where they have two goats One they will sacrifice, and the other one they will let go of in the wild, and that is the scapegoat. So it's not the same ritual.
Yeah. So,
But talking about this cow, actually, South Park had a bit about it where, uh, what's his name? The main character, the guy was like did something to a cow, painted a cow or something, and both Muslim and Jews become friends now because it's
oh,
the end times.
oh, okay, okay. So they seem to have gotten the story too.
Yep.
Apparently, the moral of the story is that you should trust in God's words blindly, and you should not ask questions like the people of Moses did.
Yeah, if you read it, like they really made it difficult for themselves by asking these questions.
I mean, can you blame them though? They went to Moses saying that someone died and we don't know who died, and Moses' reply was, "Kill a cow." I mean, what would you reply? You'd be like,
Just
"What?
go and kill a cow. It's like, come on.
Cool,
Like, just
but
grab a cow from the corner, slaughter it. Here, what do we do next? It would have been no problem at all. We would
See,
be reviving dead people today in mass. You know, the slaughterhouses would be right next to the emergency rooms where people die. We just slap them with a slab of cow, and they're back again, and everybody's fine.
but that here's the thing: if God didn't want to specify it, Moses could have said, "Just kill any cow." After they asked him, "Do we have specific things?"
Because that's what he said first.
He, he said, "Kill a cow," and then they were like, "Is it specific?" He could have said no, but he was like, "No, no, no. Let me make it harder for you. If you keep asking a question, the problem is not that they asked the question. The problem is that God doesn't want to give them just a simple answer. They were like, no. If you're gonna ask a question, I'm gonna punish you for it."
Well, yeah, I mean, God. Now, either that or God was playing them up
Yeah,
and making them ask the question to make it extremely difficult afterwards.
and we know that God knows everything, and He already planned everything, and He already decided what's gonna happen. So
Yeah. So, with the concept of predestination, we see where this is going. Without it, it makes no sense, right?
yeah,
Without it, really, there would be a big industry of reviving the dead. Okay, 70.
I'm completely lost as how anybody finds depth or meaning in any of this.
Well, they believe it as the rest of the book being holy and true and everything. Um, would it work for them? No, because they would obviously pick the wrong cow, right? But had the three verses didn't happen and they didn't ask the question, they said, okay, Moses told them, okay, go slaughter a cow. They just went, grabbed the cow from the pen, slaughtered it. Okay, what do we do next? Right? Had they done that, don't ask questions. You know, don't ask questions because you're only going to make it worse when you ask questions. This is the moral of this story, right?
Okay, we have a super chat. Noxum Volpenhair, £5. Thank you much. A long Sūrah. Here's a little to help you on your way. Enjoy the summer. Wishing you the best. Let's get this aggregation nonsense over with.
Good.
Yeah.
79 is my next note.
oh, before we go to 79,
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about 75.
Ooh.
Because here we find the anti-Jewish rhetoric of the Quran starting.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Good catch.
And it says basically, you wish they would believe in you or believe in what you have asked them, but they denies the book. They used to get messengers and prophets, and they changed the book. And whenever a new prophet comes to them, and they will deny him. and then goes on talking about how that they, talking about the Jews, will show up to Muhammad and or the Muslims, and it will be like, "Well, we believe in the same God," but when they go back to their place, they're like, "Ah, we don't believe in the same God, so we're different." And then again talks again about how most Jewish people, or the in comparison, do not know the book. Sounds like very familiar to almost any religion that have a holy text. That the majority of the people don't know the book; they just think about it and have hopes about it. So here's the first kind of the nicest way to describe in the Quran to anti-Jewish rhetoric starting. It's like they wouldn't believe. Let's start with that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a good catch. Uh, the verse uses an interesting word, yuharrifunahu, right, to the words of Allah, right? So,
Hmm.
so yuharrifuna is distorted. They're not completely altering it; they're just distorting it a little bit. Um, and they do that after they understood what it wanted to say. So yuharrifuna min ba'di ma aqaluh, and they know what they're doing, and they know it, right? They know that they're distorting it. They know the original meaning, but they are distorting it because they don't like it, right?
Yeah.
If you want to figure out why Muslims and Jews are not getting along together, it starts here. This is where the battle axe is buried.
Hmm.
79, you would think this would apply to those who wrote the Quran too. 79. So woe to those who lie about the book. Lie about, woe to those who write something down with their own hands and then claim this is from God in order to make some small gain. Woe to them for what their hands have written.
Yeah,
Woe to them, bro.
I may have to rewrite this blog post. I mean, I ended at 70 and then jumped to 81 because I just it was too long for a single blog post, and so I snipped bits.
Yay. So this is, of course, can apply to every religious group. I don't see this yeah, whatever. You get where I'm going with this.
Yeah. And tell me about how many hadiths are not true hadiths, and you
Well,
claim that from God, and
right.
then look at how many versions of the Quran that we have, and uh, add that and manage that. It's like, yeah, it's a thing that every religion does. Every if you have a holy text and you're gonna claim it is from God, someone have to write it, and most likely someone will change it.
Yeah. So we
So
are
it
going.
says in the Quran that some of the hadiths are wrong.
It
No, no. It
says
says some of the Quran that some of the books that written and claim to have been written by Allah are fake.
Oh, fabulous!
Right. That's
But
what that's
we won't tell you which ones.
well, the other ones. Ours are the real thing. The other
Okay,
ones are.
but it also says some of them.
Well, some of them is just my wording of being nice.
Okay, so
Uh,
we have non-specific. I mean, so it says that some of the hadiths may be the hadiths. Maybe that's what we're talking about. We're not going to be clear on anything.
this right, because this is the write the book with their own hands. So that's the exact wording. And then they say, this is from Allah. Now, if you take it by the word, write the book by their own hands, that's the whole book, right? But the interpretations interpret this as, okay, no, they just wrote some words. They said it is from Allah and it isn't. So we don't consider the book to be the whole book. We just consider it to be a part of that book. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, the whole book is fake, but try to convince me otherwise. Okay, next stop is 80 and 81. 80 and 81 is basically the concept that you go to hell if you do bad things, but only for a limited time, right?
Now, where is this abrogated?
This is abrogated in 83.
But this applies to Muslims, does it not?
This applies to those who, this applies to others than Muslims,
Huh.
right? So this is talking about the Jews. This is talking about Christians. In Jewish religion and even in Christianity, there is the concept of purgatory. So you do some sins, you stay 10,000 years in hell, and then you go to heaven. With the Jews, you don't even go to hell or heaven. You just have nicer places in the afterlife, right? Or worse places in the afterlife. So they don't have this concept of, okay, now you're going to hell. But here it says that the fire will only touch us for a few days.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't include that verse. I jumped from 70 to 81 and skipped 80. And that's the verse that you say this is in, right?
Yes, 80 is basically the prelude of 81. Like, this is what they said, that they are only going to stay in hell for a short period of time. And then 81 says, well, if I'd done the bad things, then yada yada, and I'll go to hell. But then we go to 82, well, and those who believed and done the good deeds, those who will go to heaven, okay, who cares? They will go there, and they are there forever, like Khalidun, they are forever. Okay, that's the same word you described, there can only be one thing, right? And then we take 83, which is abrogated, but we will read it, and I'll tell you what abrogates it afterwards. Remember when we took the pledge from the children of Israel, worship none but God, be good to your parents and kinsfolk, to orphans and the poor, speak good words to all people, keep up the prayer and pay the prescribed alms. Then they turned away and they didn't pay all he's talking about the Jews reverting from their true nature of their book and not following it, right? He actually names them the sons of Israel in this verse. And this entire verse is being abrogated by 9:5. It's just, yeah, they didn't believe. Chase them. That this is not a verbal, like, part of the verse is abrogated by something else. This is the entire verse is like gone. No, go chase them off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, I got another question. Matrix Redemption asks, Quran 2, verse 178. Oh, he's jumped ahead of us. Wait till we get to that, maybe. Can someone explain how this is justice? How can the innocent be punished if they are not in the of, I guess, commission of a crime? Please. I think maybe we should wait till we get to that part. But
yeah. I think we should put this question away and answer it as it comes up, because we're not going to get there.
Yeah.
In this episode, for sure.
Yeah, that's a while away.
Yeah, that's on maybe the third or the fourth part. Okay, 87.
And my notes are so sparse on this, I'm embarrassed. I jumped from 81 to 89. I don't have 87. I have to go back to Abdel Halim's version to read it there.
Can I ask the panel to read 287?
We gave Moses the scripture, and we sent messengers after him in succession. We gave Jesus, son of Mary, clear signs and strengthened him with the Holy Spirit. So how is it that whenever a messenger brings you something you do not like, you become arrogant, calling some impostors and killing others?
Yeah. Why, you wonder? You'd wonder why.
And this is God saying this.
Right.
God doesn't know why we don't like liars, I guess.
Yeah, it seems that he doesn't. But to more of the interesting thing, this verse is being promulgated after Muhammad moves from Mecca to Medina. What a change of place does to a person. Just move to a nicer neighborhood, eh?
That's the thing. Now he's interacting with the Jews, and the Jews telling him that he's a liar. So he's like, "Hey, wait, you are the bad ones. You kill the messengers and tell them that tell them that they are liars. So I am the true messenger because you telling me I'm a liar."
Yeah, I noticed somebody in the chat said they don't understand the abrogations, and the best way that I can explain it is that the book contradicts itself periodically, and the way that the Bible contradicts itself too, but it doesn't make mention of it. Where there are, I guess, scholars that realize that this verse in this surah contradicts this other verse in this other surah, so we take the latter one as a correction of the first one, because an infallible being corrects his errors. And I don't know how that's attributed. Is it just somebody's not taking dictation properly? I don't know what the excuse is.
Well, the given excuse is Allah gives you a verse that is good for that particular setting and time, but later gives you a better verse when your circumstances change. So that's what the Quran says about the abrogations. Why are they there? Because there are better verses to be said later on. Right now, if you said those things that I'm going to say to you later on, they will just kill you on the spot because it would be obvious. So don't say those. Say, I'm going to be patient with you. I'm not going to, you can worship whatever you worship. I'll worship whatever I worship. Because he was in that particular situation where he could not fight them off. But now that he's in the Medina, he's safe. He's got his clan. He's going to get stronger soon. And he's going to be able to fight them off. And he no longer wants to be patient with them. So the verses come down on him like, oh, now you can 5-9 them all the way. Right. So 87, not very nice to the Jews, I'm guessing, because Moses is the Jews guy.
Yeah, I want to thank Kareem for dropping a short answer for now. Kareem, you want to just recite that?
Does he hear you?
I would think so. We've got Kareem on camera. Maybe
Yeah. But he's not talking.
I don't know. Well, I'll read what he wrote. It says a short answer for now on 178 is that the verse does not talk about punishing the innocent, only punishing the killer, but still a very bad verse with primitive justice. The value of the life of a killed free is worth the free. The value of a slave with the life of a slave, and thirdly, the life of a female with the life of a female. The word used for female, not woman. I see.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Yeah. I didn't know what the verse was about. But, yeah.
I like how the Holy Scripture, the Word of God, puts women in a different value category than men, and also endorses slavery So, that puts slaves in a lower category. Somebody owns them, so they are less human. I like that. This is the word of God here.
I mean,
Notice the fact that it's free men, slaves, then women.
Yeah.
The price drops as you go on.
It puts an upper limit on the punishment allowed for a kill or a murder.
Yeah.
The Saudi jurisprudence is the value of idea is what you pay for covering up a crime.
Yeah.
As a fine. The daya for a Muslim man is worth X. A Muslim woman is worth half of that. A foreigner, half of that. A foreigner woman, half of that. A non-Muslim foreigner, half of the woman, and then a female of that is half.
Wow.
So it actually translates into law in some countries too. It's pretty bad.
Don't get killed in Saudi, man.
And somebody else posed the question is, why is the Quran so vague, yet it claims to be clear and extremely detailed, when that's clearly not true? Can someone explain why this terrible book makes such big claims for itself?
Because it's your fault that you don't understand how God thinks and Almighty God thinks.
God has stamped on your heart, so you can't see and you can't hear, and you will not understand it.
Quite honestly, the Quran is not on par to the level at which Muslims hold their gods. If I were the Muslim God, I would find the Quran offensive, like for people to attribute it to me.
I would think so too. But...
Can we jump to 89?
Yep. So when a scripture came to them from God, confirming what they already had, and when they had been praying for victory against the disbelievers, even when there came to them something they knew to be true, they disbelieved in it. God rejects those who disbelieve.
God curses those who disbelieve.
It's in 88. It's the same thing in a shorter verse. Basically, they say, God's
curse is upon the disbeliever.
Don't talk over people, Bogey. Let him go.
Sorry.
And like that, it's one of the biggest curses. The la'na, I mean, the not just the curse, but an expulsion of the mercy of God. So you are banished from the mercy. You cannot even think about God being merciful toward you if He have already cursed you, la'an you. So here's again, God is cursing the Jews who believe in Him because they wouldn't believe in Muhammad now.
Yeah, and if you just jump back to 2:6, the ink didn't dry on this one yet.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem is he is accusing the Jews of using a book that's been modified.
Yes.
But technically, if I'm born with a modified book, it's not my fault. I should not be punished because I have a book in my hand that my grandparents modified and told me it's true. It's what I have. I shouldn't be burned in hell for it. But hey.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a merciful God. So yeah.
I'm not the one who modified it.
Oh, that has a special place in hell, but only for a short time, according to them. Unless, according to Islam, he's going to stay in hell forever. 91 is my next
One
note.
second. Somebody asks, are there any Islamic apologists on the panel? I don't think so.
Not today.
Yep, not today. The invitation went out to several, but none accepted. As a matter of fact, one apologist asked to be taken off the mailing list.
Yeah, he's too scared to be on it. He's afraid. He ran away.
Yeah, I don't make those kind of allegations because
neither do I.
I hear them making those allegations.
Yeah, this is a joke. This is just me being facetious about it. 91. They are free to come. We will totally respect them. 291 is my next note.
291. And that one is, when it is said to them, believe in God's revelations, they reply, we believe in what is revealed to us, but they do not believe in what came afterwards, though it is the truth confirming what they already have. Say, Muhammad, why did you kill God's prophets in the past if you were true believers?
This doesn't make sense at all to me. Why is he accusing them for something that people did generations back?
Because
because
the group punishment is a thing in Islam.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
a group of people, if a part of a group of people committed a crime, the general public have to pay the price for it. So collective punishment is a thing in Islam, and we will see it in the history. You see it in the Sūrah of Muhammad. Well, there is some, again, the Jews were doing something according to the story, and well, what they decided to do is kill all the men of the Jewish tribe or the Jewish village of that time, because
Oh.
some group of them kind of rebelled against them. So
I-
collective punishment is in Islam.
Oh yeah, I
And
know that
another-
story. They were actually checking children to see if they were growing pubes, and
Yeah.
if they were growing pubes, they killed them.
That's
Yeah.
Qurayza,
Yeah.
the Qurayza tribe.
Yeah.
Another
So-
one where some woman got harassed by a couple guys, so he went in and expelled the entire tribe.
Yeah, so yeah, the collective punishment is a thing in Islam, and here again, you inherit. Like it's another contradiction, because at the same time the Quran tell you that you cannot inherit anyone else's sins, but here is again, God tells the Jews that they're gonna be inheriting their ancestors' sins because they killed the prophets.
Yep. And
I don't know.
that's-
Maybe it's just some special punishment for the Jews or Jewish people.
If you just read the verses in Al-Baqarah regarding the Jews, then you think it's just a special punishment for the Jews. But
Yes.
generally, Islam does not take well to other religions. They don't much like them. 91 was my last note, kill Prophet. 92 to 97, back to worshipping the calf again. I still have problem with this concept. Like, so Moses came to you with the clear evidence, and then you still worshipped the calf. We discussed it in the last episode, and I don't know if anyone wants to add something to this.
It will get redundant because Moses and Abraham and Pharaoh are mentioned over 60 times in the Quran in 6,000 verses,
Yeah.
which means about 1% of the verses. And the same story over and over and over: Moses, Abraham, Moses, Abraham, Moses, Abraham. And it's a pretty boring stories and old stories in the oldest story in the Quran, except for Joseph's story. The calf is about one person who didn't obey. He got hit hard. He didn't obey. He got hit hard. That's the moral story, pretty much, of all of them. And it's the same story over and over. There's so much repetition. So we're gonna run into Moses and Abraham every episode. It's unavoidable. We have to make an episode, I guess, just about them, so we can take them out of the equation. But anyways, that's.
I've noticed an awful lot of repetition where they keep going surah after surah. They keep going. Do you remember Moses in this story? Yes, you told us every surah the same thing.
And it's not just a story repetition, it's repetition of allegory too. Like when he talks about the moon, he repeats the same allegory 4 times. He talks about the sun, the same allegory over and over in the Quran. If you were a poet writing a book and you reused your allegory, like other poets will make fun of you.
It's kind of like he's trying to
it's-
reach his word count in an essay.
Yeah, but
he's just filling.
you can't dare make fun of the Quran. That's not good.
Well, you can do it in a reverse way. I can go back 1,000 years and I will not find any books written by any of the big guys, by big guys, I don't mean men of religion, but any of the big guys who wrote something good about the Quran. We are told by shitty politicians, journalists, Arabic teachers, religion teachers, that it's the best book. It's the best book. It's good for women. Karram al-mar'a, karram al-mar'a. Good for women. Good for women. Best book. But and I go and I try and find any of the big boys who actually wrote something good about it. I can't find any. And when I read it to myself, it's the second worst book I ever read.
I'm seeing a couple of people in the chat asking, who is Kareem? Can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Hi, I'm Kareem. I was born in Egypt. I live in Canada. My study is computer science and physics, and unfortunately, Quran. Currently an atheist.
Okay.
Currently an atheist, and I admin few groups for Middle Eastern atheists.
Good combination, though.
Mhm.
Computer science and physics and the Quran. Okay.
Well, when I was in Egypt, I had to study what could kill me, right? So Aaron had to study the Bible growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now he's branching out.
it is positional now, isn't it? Like you wouldn't expect somebody who is living in a Christian world to go out in a limb and study the Quran because it doesn't have a lot of footprint. Right?
Isn't that a failing of the Quran itself, though? Like, it says
No.
anyone should be able to understand it, so it doesn't matter where you come from. You read it once, you should be able to get it.
Yeah. Aaron,
Are
but you understand it.
Yeah. Are you accusing the Quran of having shortcomings now?
Yeah.
Is that
I mean, with all the good intentions there, did you understand it when you read it?
or could God just cover your heart for a minute there until the day that you will learn how to read it clearly again? I don't know when that will be, but
The apologies can be written down in a line and used for every failed ideology. The same apologies will be used by communists, by anyone from Hindu, Muslim. It's the same. You didn't understand it well. You didn't read the last page or you didn't fully read it. You're only applying 90%. You're not applying the last 10%. The fault isn't the greed. You're too greedy. You're too horny. Whatever excuses are used to change the name of the ideology or the prophet or Karl Marx or whatever, and it's pretty much the same part of the brain that does the work.
Yeah. So 2 verses, 97 and 98. I'm all for unionized workforce, gentlemen.
just before we go to 97, 93, it says that God took a mithaqakum, which is the I don't know, a trust,
Covenant.
an oath, a covenant,
A covenant, yes.
and he had hold the Tur, which is the Tur Sinai, which is Mount Sinai, elevated on top of you. So there is an episode in the history of Judaism where there is according to the Quran, as we read it right now, there is a mountain that had been elevated, hold up, was flying on top of the Jews. That's how they had their covenant. I'm not familiar with that story, but it's mentioned in the Quran.
There's something about them threatening to drop it down on them, right?
It's like if you don't. Yeah.
So flying mountain. Okay, I'm not going to contradict that interpretation. It looks funny enough. All right, let's go to the unionized workforce here. 97, 98. Yay, protected people. I mean, protected angels. You cannot be an enemy of Gabriel in 97, and you cannot be an enemy of Allah's angels, his prophets, and Gabriel again, specifically, because Gabriel is kind of like, no, don't hurt Gabriel. And Michael, because that's also a thing.
He stuck his name. He stuck himself between the God and the angels and Gabriel and Michael. Don't be an enemy to God, his angels, his prophets, Gabriel and Michael. So he kind of made himself as elevated himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the story there
Something
because
he's very good at.
yeah, the story there when he arrived at in Medina and he starts interacting with the Jews again, with the Jewish population there. They asked him, "Who's the angel that gave you the message from God? What's his name again?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Gabriel." And the story goes that they were like, "Oh, Gabriel is the angel of war, and he is violent, so we will not believe in you. If it was Michael, we would have believed in you because he's a nice one." So here's his like, what if you're gonna pick that angel as an enemy, then God is your enemy. If you don't believe in me and the angels and Michael and Gabriel, all of them together, then God is your enemy.
Yeah. Besides, they work for me now, so you can't,
Yeah.
disparage them. Yay! So again, unionized workforce is great. 102 is my next point, unless you have something before that.
And followed what the evil ones had fabricated about the kingdom of Solomon instead. So if you want the whole sentence, you have to get 101 in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this verse.
Yep.
You love it?
Yes.
We can
It's one
read
of my
it with
favorites.
we can read it with 101 too, because why not?
Yeah, 101. When God sent them a messenger confirming the scriptures they already had, some of those who had received the scripture before threw the book of God over their shoulders as if they had no knowledge.
Silly garbage. Yeah.
And followed what the evil ones had fabricated about the kingdom of Solomon instead. Not that Solomon himself was a disbeliever, it was the evil ones who were disbelievers. Because, of course, it's always, disbelief means evil in the Quran.
Yes.
Yes.
It is basically is the epitome of evil. وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينَ. So they followed what the devils were enchanting. Right? And Sulaiman was not infected with this, but the shayateen, the devils, were disbelievers. And they taught people the magic. Magic is considered a big no-no in Islam, by the way.
Yeah, that's the best part of this surah. Like, God literally sends two angels to Babylon to teach people black magic, or to teach people evil things. So, if they promise not to use it, of course. So basically, you can see that God created evil, or led people to evil.
Yeah, this verse is a doozy. I mean, it hardly fits on my screen. Harut and Marut, what are these?
They're the two teachers,
angels.
the two angels that were sent to teach black magic.
Oh, okay.
Harut
So-
and Marut, that's one of the mysteries of the Quran because it's again, it's a name that it's mentioned in the Quran, but you need to know the backstory of it, and it's not mentioned anywhere in the Quran except here, and it's not. And
It's not in the Hadith.
Yeah, and it's supposedly, you remember when God told the angels that He's gonna create people and put them on Earth. Well, they contested that, and apparently God decided to give them a challenge. That they picked two angels, to go and have a test, and those are Harut and Marut. And at the same time, there is the story, which I think it's maybe the closest to the truth, to the nature of that myth that came out with, is that they fall in love with there's two angels that fall in love with an earthly woman, and they decided to bring her up to heaven, and God cursed them and like bound them in a well somewhere in Babylon, and that woman have become the Venus
Oh,
in the sky. That's why it dips down and goes up again, because she cannot go up or to heaven or come back to earth. She's stuck in the in the firmament. That's why it
so
dips up and go up.
so not orbits.
No,
No.
Yeah,
and yeah.
somebody asked, Zane asked whether I think Muhammad existed. Well, I don't really know. I suspect there was probably one or more people that maybe got compiled into the character of Muhammad. I'm sure there was at least one actual basis for that character. And then Anton Gomez gave another 66.6 Mexican pesos. Says, I was told that the disbelievers were not evil, but that the evil ones were devils or something. What I've read throughout the Quran, and I'm sure the others here will back this up, is it constantly refers to unbelievers as evildoers, and that disbelief is the evil that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A corollary from that is that the ultimate good is tawheed,
Yeah.
monotheism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tawheed means unification.
The oneness of God, the belief in the oneness of God. What else is in this? Oh, so these two angels that were descended on Babel, they called Harut and Marut, right? Yeah, what the heck? That this is getting between the man and his wife, but they can't hurt him unless God wants it too.
Basically, that even if people do black magic, the one who allows black magic to happen is God.
So God makes black magic work or not work.
Yes, work.
Okay, duly noted. So why punish the magician then? I'm
Because
just
God's a
saying-
5-year-old.
because I mean, anyone can do any magic. I mean, nobody can do no magic, but if they do a magic and they separate the man from his wife by doing, I mean, the whole point is that you put a curse on the guy or the woman and they don't like each other anymore. That's the whole thing here being talked about. Or vice versa, you send the love potion and then the woman likes you more. But it only works in any direction if Allah wants it to work. So sometimes, apparently, the Quran here acknowledges that this might work, but only works if He wants it to.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, again, if you read the tafsirs of this ayah, usually it is the longest ayah that have tafsir for one ayah, because there's a lot of mysteries in it about Islam. Because God condemned magicians, but He sent it down, but He didn't send it down according to some hadith, but the punished angels taught the secret knowledge to people where they are not supposed to learn the secret knowledge, and it's a complicated thing, which again remind me that it's just Muhammad again just repeating stories that he heard. He doesn't have much knowledge of the stories. He just repeating the story to the people, be like, "Oh, I know you lie about this because you did this and this, and you condemn and you believed in the magicians in Babylon." And I'm like, what magicians in Babylon? What's going on there?
Yeah, well, why Babylon of all places?
And guess what? There is magic before Babylon, because Moses was competing with magicians
from Egypt.
from Egypt. Babylon
Well,
exile didn't happen yet.
And they had good stuff too.
Yeah.
Like they could do the snake thing, they could do the hand thing, and all the other. Probably they had more tricks too, but it's not in the Quran. But they probably did more tricks than that. But just like David Copperfield, flying around in the theater is a thing.
Yeah. And
It's not in the Quran, but he can do it.
yeah, here's a fact that we know. The oldest recorded magic trick is an Egyptian magic trick, and it's recorded that this magician could take a bird, pulls the heads off, and pop it back in, and it's alive. So we know there is some magic trick, that there were magic trick in the Egyptian time, and they did that magic tricks, and it's the story. I think it's in when it's recorded that it gets like more fantastical the more he does it. So it starts with a little pigeon, goes to like goose and like bigger animals.
And
So
there's a one
yeah.
where Jesus, or a person depicted as Jesus, takes a bird of clay. He makes a bird out of clay, blows on it, and it becomes a bird.
Yep. That's actually in the infancy Bible
Right,
too.
which is interesting because due to the canonization of the Bible, the infancy Bible wasn't canonized, but because of the way things happened back in the day, Muhammad seems to have access to the infancy Bible, and he incorporates bits and pieces of it into the Quran, and that's one of the best places the infancy Bible is actually preserved, up to the date where we found an almost full copy in the desert about 10 years ago.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of Muslim apologists will tell you that the Quran didn't copy the Bible, which is the lie. But when you compare the modern Latin Bible to the Quran, it doesn't match. Well, the truth of the matter is that the Quran copied the Syriac Bible, which was more common in Arabia and the Middle East, because it doesn't make sense that you will copy a book from Rome while you have the other book here in a language you could read and write.
Right. And
So yeah, if you're gonna compare it to another book, compare it to either the Aramaic or the Syriac Bible, and that is the book that he copied.
right. And if you look at it, the cow slapping of the dead part is obviously copied from at least the Torah, if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So there are bits, like, for those people who says the Quran is a copy of the Bible, the answer is no. The Quran copied bits and pieces of the Bible, as well as copied bits and pieces of the Torah, and copied bits and pieces of a lot of other things that were out at the day the Quran was being made up. But is it a full copy of them? No. That's an incorrect question to ask. This is a distinct book with its own unusual things, but it does copy verses from here, stories from there, bits and pieces from here, bits and pieces from there, and you find them in the Quran. And of course you want to point them out, because we are cross-referencing this book with other books that we are familiar with, because we kind of cross-referencing and studying these holy books. Well, I guess because we're atheists and we're interested.
One of the criticisms I get is that we're too literal, but nobody reads scripture more literally than atheists, because we're not trying to apologize for anything. We're not trying to make excuses for how it could still be true.
In a way, also, we get accused of being very liberal, but I think we're very conservative people. We're a very conservative group. In a funny way, we don't add allegories and meanings to sentences willy-nilly as we feel. We read it as it is and interpret it as the writer wrote it and intended it, which is a conservative thing.
The conversation that often comes up with me is when it said that that's not what the Bible says. And then I show them, well, that's not what the Bible means.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Who's the conservative here?
Okay, I
Yes.
did a little bit quick research about Harut and Marut. Apparently, they are Zoroastrian archangels.
Oh, so now we're borrowing from the Zoroastrians.
A lot has been borrowed from them. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even saying, whoa, we're borrowing from the Zoroastrians. I'm saying, okay, so Zoroastrians. To the point, the Quran does borrow bits and pieces from a lot of sources.
Yep.
And you're going to find them if you are familiar with that source. You're going to say, oh, that's in the Bible. Okay. It doesn't mean it's a copy of the Bible.
Even Muhammad's trip to heaven is in Zoroastrianism.
Really?
It's very similar, surprisingly.
What kind of an animal was he riding, according to the Zoroastrians?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
It's an unrememberable Burak. Okay, 106 is my next note.
$105 is interesting, actually.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry, 106. The abrogation verse.
Yes, that's why I actually.
It's a short verse, but it's a very big nail. It's a very big nail in the coffin.
Right. So we had about 4 to 5 references to abrogation before in the Mecca part of the Quran, and here is one in the Medani part of the Quran. No other than the cow itself. So it's a very clear reference to the principle of the abrogation, and it has got protection too. 2106 is not abrogated, haha, and it is in the Medani section of the Quran, which a lot of apologists will say, well, the Mecca section is just theology, and there are no rules on it. Well, this is one in the Medani section for you, right? Because I have heard that argument that, oh, this is in the Mecca section. It's not a rule, it's just theology, right? It is a rule, by the way. Don't be fooled by that. And regardless of which section of the Quran it is, it's just as valid. But this is, again, reiterates the rule of the abrogation. We do not abrogate a verse unless we bring you a better one or something like it. Didn't you know that Allah is capable of everything? Didn't you know that? Okay, this is 106.
A quick note on abrogation, mostly for listeners. Every ideology has to come up with a system to deal with inconsistencies and contradictions, and the Quran, being no exception, came up with abrogation as a method to deal with any inconsistency resulting from contradiction.
Yeah.
And abrogation meaning that verse came after this verse, so it takes precedence because it's more recent within the 20 years where the verses were brought.
Yeah.
And they deny it exists, but whenever cornered, they have to fall back on it and that verse.
Right. I usually squeeze them into the corner by telling, okay, why are you completely forbidding alcohol?
Yeah.
I mean, to this point in time, Muslims can still drink alcohol. The absolute prohibition comes later. Muslims moved from Mecca to Medina, and they stopped in every tavern on the way and drank some wine.
Muhammad drank wine every day.
Well, yeah.
Yatanabbaz, yeah.
Yeah. It was not a thing until later on. So, yes, they know the abrogation. They know exactly what it is, and they follow it down to the letter. Don't let them sway you on that. 108 is my next note. 108.
Do you wish to demand of your messenger something similar to what was demanded of Moses? Whoever exchanges faith for disbelief has strayed far from the right path.
This is the reference about the yellow cow. It talks about, do you really want to question your prophet when he tells you to go slaughter a cow? Do you really want to do that?
Yeah, I do. Why the hell would I want to kill the cow?
Oh, Aaron, you're an atheist. That's not good.
And why does it have to be a yellow cow? And why does it have to have no blemishes? The color the color of the fur has nothing to do with the quality of the beef. I don't understand.
How dare you question the wisdom of the Almighty?
Yeah.
You could have just went to the barn, slaughtered the cow, and be done with it, and now everybody could just do it because it would work, right? Because it would have to consistently work. But leave it to the apologists. They'll find the reason why it's not working today. 109. 109 كثير من أيام من بعد أيمانكم كفروا أسهل من أنفسكم وبينكم الحق فاعفوا واصفحوا حتى يأتي بأمري. 109, is this abrogated? Oh, yes, it is. Oh, hell, it is abrogated. Can you read 109? Oh, Aaron is gone. Okay, even after the truth has become clear to them, many of the people of the book, mainly the Jews and Christians in this place, could turn you back to disbelief after you have believed. Out of their selfish envy, forgive and forbear until God gives his command. He has power over things. That forbid and forget has been abrogated by 929. And we can have a sneak peek at 929 if we want.
It's the first time you've referenced that one out of my memory.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm bringing it up. 929. What does it actually say? 920. 124, 25, 29. There it is. قاتلوا الذين لا يؤمنون. Not any less. قاتل الذين لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر. ولا fight. That's lethal combat, by the way. That's a call to lethal combat. Okay. If you ask a professional soldier who understands this language, he'll tell you, yeah, that's like when we take your stuff and make the enemy go away. Right?
Qatil is a verb rooted in qatal. Qatal means murder.
Kill. To kill. But qatil means you are engaging a lethal combat. You are fighting them, but you're not fighting them mentally or by debating them or by, talking to them or whatever else. No, you're actually killing them.
And there were other words that could have been used with a less physical root.
Exactly. But this is exactly that route. Lethally combat those. If you want to be honest with your translation, this is lethally combat those who don't believe of the existence of God and don't believe with the end days and do not forbid what Allah has forbidden. So if you don't forbid, let's say, alcohol, you are to be fought against. And will not believe, do not acknowledge the true belief system, which is Islam, of those who were given the book. Okay, so the only specificity here is these are the book people. Unfortunately, the others get 5-9, but whatever.
533.
Yeah. So fight them, like lethally fight them until they pay the jizya, right? They agree to pay the jizya, which is it?
I got another question, Mr. I think that's Space Paster. It says, on the topic of alcohol, does Islam forbid all alcohol? Because I heard that it's only the fermentation of the grape and wheat specifically, which would leave mead and vodka and others.
You have to end vodka and others. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The word used in the Quran is khamr, which is the whatever fermented in general.
As a chemist, I would say khamr is fermentation, as a language, khamr means wine, and
Yes,
I don't know about vodka and whiskey and all the.
but the hadith says whatever a lot of it got you drunk, little of it is forbidden. So it's the
We're
situation
talking
that
Quran. We're not talking hadith.
yes,
Hadith.
I know, I know. It says Islam forbid all alcohol, so that's why I
Because there's a huge problem with alcohol. Whenever you move to a big city, water is toxic. Water is full of cholera and salmonella and E. coli. So to build a big city at the time, and a big city is any city that reaches 50,000 people, you have to find a way to purify water. In older times, in big cities, people drank exclusively ale and drinks with a little bit of alcohol in them, or else they will die. So when Omar ibn al-Khattab started invading bigger cities, he knew he could not ban alcohol. So he said, all right, we're going to ban khamr means only wine and grape wine, and we're going to ban grape wine, but we will allow alcohols made from figs or other things. So he had to find ways to turn
So
against that
is there an
prohibition.
exclusion against sugarcane?
Chemically speaking, khamr is fermentation.
Okay.
Linguistically, it's grape wine. And so Omar chose the linguistic interpretation, and he allowed all other wines other than grape wine.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting that it went that way at one time, and today you can't have any kind of alcohol anywhere.
And that's
Yeah.
Omar ibn al-Khattab. That's like the second guy.
Yeah, he's the punchy guy.
We have another super chat. Anton Gomez with 50 Mexican pesos. Is the specificity of the cow perhaps an attempt to fabricate an excuse for when people try it and it doesn't work?
You think it worked the first time around? You really do?
I don't think that's the way to address that question.
I know.
And then we have another super chat, this one from Keith for $20. If God is so love pushing, why did he make me too shy to have a girlfriend and kids? Plus, if he moralizes sex before marriage, why would he sexually disfigure me, testicle cancer, before marriage? I don't think our panel can answer either of those questions.
You got a lot of hard questions for Allah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually it goes under the exam and the test in this life. And every religion answers that question consistently with some sort of test, or the Hindu tried to answer it by saying your planets were not aligned. Planets are responsible for what happens, good or evil. God just set the planets and walk away. Depending on your where you were born, you will get the appropriate answer.
Well, that can't be right, because Einstein said God doesn't play dice with the universe, and that's what you're describing is exactly that.
That was before he discovered quantum. He kind of ate that sentence later on.
Okay, so then we have another question from Zohaib. It says, how is alcohol an example of abrogation, and what was the context when Muhammad forbade drinking it? Did we already cover that?
I don't think we did.
I think we did. Okay.
Okay.
And then East Fremantle has a question that if a passage is abrogated, does that mean you completely ignore that passage?
Exactly.
There is two schools of studies in that matter. You could if it's an ayah that a verse that have something to do. So if you do this, you're gonna get this, and it's been abrogated, then the punishment or the doing you don't have to do anymore. So one of the things is like the alcohol abrogation. One of them is like do not pray while you're drunk. Well, you are not supposed to drink at all, so you could pray all the time. But at the same time, there is another school of study that says that the soul or the meaning of the ayah still uphold, but it's not. You don't have to. It's like a suggestion. So if you break the law of drinking, and you're drunk and it comes time to prayer, do not pray while you're drunk. Wait until you're sober, then you could pray. So there's a couple stories, and again, abrogation is just an apologetic way to explain the contradiction in the Quran.
Okay.
Sorry, I reread Keith's sentences. If God is so love pushing, just the God of the Islam is not love pushing. He's not that God.
No, it doesn't
Wrong
particularly
God.
love you.
He's merciful, but he'll make up it after you die. He'll make it up for you.
My guiding light on the subject of abrogation is the argument that broke out between the Sahaba and the person who was tasked by collecting the Quran. The argument was to completely delete the abrogated verses from the book, like erase them, they're not there. And the guy who was tasked with collecting the Quran refused and said, I cannot alter the words of Allah, even if he altered them himself. So, and he prevailed because he was the boss. He was going to do the collecting, right? So they couldn't touch him because he was tasked with the task, right? So I'll take that argument and say it's in the book because that guy refused to erase it. And now we have an accompanying list of the abrogations following around the Quran that we can list from. As far as, and I try to be specific when the abrogation happens and it only abrogates parts of the verses. I try to be specific and say it abrogates these parts of the verse or that part. Sometimes it completely abrogates the verse and there is no two ways around it. But yes, I'll consider an abrogation final and quite canceling to what it abrogated. Okay, my next note is 111, 112.
111 and 112. They also say, no one will enter paradise unless he is a Jew or Christian. This is their own wishful thinking. Prophets say, produce your evidence if you are telling the truth.
Yes.
Why do we not make that request of the prophet?
Well, yeah. To the point, though, I was going to, given the abrogation in 262, which is the second abrogation in this surah, you could see this one coming, right? These two verses.
The abrogation.
Yes, you could see this one being abrogated too, because no, you can only go to heaven if you're a Muslim. You cannot go to heaven if you're anything else. And
it keeps going back and forth on this because there's other verses that say that that Christians can get into heaven, and then there's the ones like this one that said that no, they can't.
But it's abrogated.
Well, then, one of the questions that just came up in the chat is, what do you do with these abrogations? Let me see if I can find that question again.
Well, it made 262 consistent with this one.
You know, it says, so abrogation is from man or God?
Abrogation is from God.
Okay, so God is correcting himself.
Exactly.
It's a perfect book, Aaron. It's a perfect book that's been preserved for thousands and millions of years. But within 20 years, it came up with a lot of corrections.
Yeah. Things change in 20 years. Even back then they did. You know. In 20 years, maybe the direction of traffic in the desert changed.
What's
and
funny
people
is,
moved on the other side of the lane.
what's funny is God supposedly wrote this book at once, but then gave it to Muhammad in pieces. So when he wrote it, he must have seen these problems. But, you know.
Must have poked an eye to somebody.
It's too bad because verse 2, 112 could have been a nice verse. But they had to go and define that whoever give his face to Allah can only be a Muslim.
Yeah. Do you have a note on 113?
I do have a note on 113.
Okay. The Jews say, The Christians have no ground whatsoever to stand on. And the Christians say the Jews have no ground whatsoever to stand on, though they both read the scripture, and those who have no knowledge say the same. God will judge between them on the day of resurrection concerning their differences, says the guy who has no ground to stand on because he's Muslim, and they're all contradicting each other.
Have we heard that before?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the eternal feud between the Christians and the Jews, as they are. This is it. It's described here. It's right there. It's in the book. There you go.
It's the problem with the authoritarian argument.
Yeah.
If somebody tried to use this argument with me yesterday, they said, that their evidence of God is that the universe appears designed. But the universe does not appear designed. So where do you go from there? Well, then it just becomes your opinion. We need to have evidence. Is it designed or not? But I can't seem to convince people of that. So yeah, on this Christian site, they're saying that Christians need to be warned about hell. Right? I ask, Christians do need to be warned about hell because the Quran says they're going to hell, that they're not going to get into heaven, and the Muslims are all going to go to Christian hell, and the Christians are all going to go to Muslim hell, and the rest of us most of the rest will think both of y'all are full of shit.
I was talking with a couple of friends. One is a Catholic and the other one is a Lutheran. And I was talking about, and I was telling them, explaining to them I was telling them basically, if God exists and he truly loved and he truly cared, he wouldn't care what the fuck I believe in. If I believed in him or not, he would care about what I do in life.
Yeah.
But and I and both of them, they kind of we don't know. I was like, so you're telling me I could be the best human being ever, but as long as I don't believe in the same thing you believe in, I could go to hell? And they're like, well, we don't know. God will decide. I was like, well, yeah, I think if God exists, we'll understand. Plus, I have a lot of problem with God existing. I have a lot of questions for him, but that's beyond the point.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, them not knowing is just they don't want to be harsh on you.
Yeah, I know why say that
they are being polite.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
The ones that
I'm not going to tell you you're going to hell. But
yes.
The ones I usually deal with are much less polite. They say that even if you're Christian, you're not going to hell. You're not going to heaven. Even if you're Christian, you have to be a reborn Christian, and then you have to be a reborn Christian and a biblical literalist. You have to believe absolutely every word of the Bible verbatim, or else you're still going to hell. That's how restrictive they are.
And another thing that touches on that is the Islam that I see in Arabic today is much different than the Islam I see in other languages. The language they use to talk to each other about the religion is actually different, even in a foreign country, the moment it switches between Arabic and English.
That's why I love the apologists, like when they come up, the Western-centered apologists for Islam, because the religion they talk about is not the same Islam that is in the Middle East, or it's not the same Islam in any of the Muslim majority countries. And you tell them it's not the same thing. And they're like, well, but.
You just reminded me of something. The stark contrast between Al Jazeera in Arabic and Al Jazeera in English.
Yes.
That delta is the same delta between CNN and Fox. The Al Jazeera in Arabic is Fox. Al Jazeera in English is CNN. That's how far of a divide between the two, English Islam and Arabic Islam.
How do they get the presenters to switch?
They have different presenters.
The theory of evolution in English Al Jazeera is very well respected and presented. When it goes to Arabic, it's been debunked in all the big universities in the world, and nobody's teaching it. And it's this is how far between the same two tabs on my browser.
I want to be the fly in the wall where the two set of presenters have a chat at the dining table or something. What are they going to say to each other? You said what on television?
When I was younger, I asked my Qur'an teacher about dinosaurs, and he said There's no such thing. Those things that they call dinosaurs are just chicken bone that they found and are claiming to be dinosaurs.
You had a
To be
teacher that
honest
told
with
me
you, he's not wrong. They are bird bones, but it's not that big.
that.
See, and then I remember when I was young going to a dinosaur museum in Saudi Arabia. So it's not the situation. It's like everyone picks and chooses what they teach about Islam and what they believe. So
I'm really sorry that you got a question answered that way. I hate when I see teachers or people pretending to be teachers who are only stifling curiosity.
Yeah. Oh,
So we
I
have
got another
a
question here, but I don't understand the question. I'm not may not read this right. And let's see. This was Trevor Wright said, "Why does Muhammad think the Quran and Surah relating to Jews and Christians as pertaining to the Bible? And is there any evidence for Messiah and theology concerning Revelation?" I'm not going to touch that. I'll let you guys have it.
what?
Yeah. It's a two-part question. Why does Muhammad think that the Quran and Surah relating to Jews and Christians as pertaining to the Bible? I don't understand that question. Hopefully one of you all do.
I think I know.
Okay.
I'll try and answer it. If I'm off, Peter, you can
Okay.
re-ask. He based his religion on existing books and existing stories. And so when contradictions happen on very small, stupid things that shouldn't have been wrong in two perfect books written by a perfect being, their excuse was that those books were modified and an enmity happened. Because if you're wrong, so you cannot be right. If you're right, I'm wrong. It came to that. It's you or me. And so it's him or the Jews, it's him or the Christians. They cannot. He may not hate the Veda of the Hindus because it doesn't contradict any of his stories, but the Bible and the Jews are so ingrained in the DNA of the Quran that the stark differences have to be addressed.
I gotta find the link for it, but I saw a news story a few days ago that Jews and Muslims had come to an agreement that they both worship the same God, and that it's not the God that Christians worship. The Christians worship a different God.
Okay, as long
I've been
as
saying
those guys are wrong.
I've been saying forever that the first commandment in the quote unquote 10 commandments, the very first commandment goes against Christianity. Because it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," and then Christianity comes up and says, "No one gets to the Father but through me." I'm sorry, you're violating the very first commandment there. And now I have rabbis and imams both saying, "Yeah, the atheist is right on that point."
Yeah. My next note is in 2:115, please.
2:115. That is, "The east and the west belong to God. Wherever you turn, there is his face."
Okay.
God is all pervading and all knowing.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a mistranslation. The east and the west is actually the sunrise and the sunset.
Mashruq and Maghrib, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we talked about that previously on a different context, but this verse is talking about to which direction you shall pray. This verse talks about you can pray in any freaking direction you want, because wherever you point your face, there is God. This is actually an interesting Jewish concept, by the way, that whichever way you're praying, you're still praying towards God because he's everywhere. Like this is the ever-present, invisible, untouchable, ineffable Yahweh concept, which does stem from Judaism. So this verse basically says, yeah, whichever way you point your face, you're going to be facing Allah because he's everywhere.
I used to work with a Muslim in Texas who was we're in the store, and he's trying to find Mecca so he can orient himself. And I remember telling him that from here it's right through the earth. It's almost straight through.
There is an island in the Pacific where it's exactly the opposite, like from Mecca. So it's I wonder what Muslims will do there, which way they will pray, because it's equally all
Well,
over the place.
there's this thing that they don't want to build washrooms facing Mecca at any. So you probably don't want to piss on the floor in that island, because then
Yeah.
We got another
There
super chat.
There aren't gravity. So just before
Anton
we go,
Gomez, once again, 50 Mexican pesos. Can you imagine the warden of a Christian hell arguing with the warden of Muslim hell? No, this one goes to my hell. No, he's mine.
I would like to see the brawl break out in hell about who's going to which hell.
But before
But I
we
will.
pass, before we pass on the next one, if we go to the 114, it talks about masajid in a way that it's a plural. Well, we know at that time that there was only one masjid that the Muhammad have built, and I think here they are talking about either churches or houses of synagogues that Jews that they will not allowing Muslims to come and pray there.
Yes.
Which most likely it's churches, because to connect with the Christian Arabs, there were more connection between them and early Islam, and
Yeah.
there's more depiction of that than actual Jewish. So
there's
There again.
there's five mosques mentioned in Quran. One of them Muhammad ordered burned, and it was burned with people in it, destroyed. But when they went, they locked the door and burned people inside it.
Wow.
And a lot of Muslims don't know about that fifth mosque. But it's true that these mosques pre-existed, unless we talk about the mosque that they talk about that didn't exist yet when the Quran was written.
That's the
Aqsa.
thing. It's like, no, is the Quran talking about a mosque to the futures, or is it talking about the mosque that existed at that time? And yes, that mosque that had been burned, it's in Medina, and their place is known to a lot of people who live in Medina, because it's another sightseeing. People will come and see it. It's like an empty lot or something like this now. It's like no one wanna use it because it's cursed.
And it's funny. He goes, right, go ahead.
So I remember going. Well, one time we went in Medina and we were like going around checking all those ancient old mosques, and most of them are just like rebuilt to be modern, looking modern. And you go to this empty lot, be like, yeah, here's the place where the mosque was burned. Muhammad ordered burned.
Yeah, for your mental image, 114, the mosque doesn't mean the Islamic mosque. It means a place of worship in general. So we're talking synagogues, churches, and I don't know if Muslims had a mosque at that point in time.
When he first arrived, Muhammad built. I'm trying to remember the name of the mosque there. It's is it the Al-Aqaba Mosque? No. What's the name of the mosque? There is an older mosque, and then he built his own mosque, and then there was a third mosque. Yeah.
He goes. The verse says, and those who are more unjust than those who prevent the name of Allah from being mentioned in his mosque and strive toward their destruction, and he destroy one.
Yes.
And today, when Sunni Daesh destroys a Hezbollah mosque and a Hezbollah burns a Sunni mosque, they are following Muhammad's example by demonizing the other sect and burning mosques. They're doing exactly what Muhammad did, and that's.
Yeah.
Yes, and we know in the Hadith and the Sūrah that Muhammad sent people to go destroy other Kaabas too. Like, it's not just there's multiple mosques, there's multiple Kaabas, and
there's over 20 Kaabas.
Yeah. So the trail of mosque destruction is long under Muhammad's hand. So I don't know what the heck is going on with that verse. Anyways, 115.
No. We got it. We got to hit this other one. Oh, I'm sorry. You said 115. I'm looking at the next one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 115. And God owns the sunset and the sunrise, yada, yada, yada. This is about which direction to pray. And 115, this verse is abrogated by verse 144 of this same surah, which designates, 144 designates Masjid al-Haram by word and not by name to be the official direction Muslims pray into. So in this
That's
verse,
true. They have to face.
right. So in this verse, it actually says you can pray whichever direction you want. Everywhere is Allah. And then a mere 30 verses later in the same surah, it says, no, this is the direction you're going to pray to. So this is the nature of abrogation. This word, Muslims do not pray in any direction they want to. Nobody does. What they do is follow the abrogation to the letter and follow to 144 actually, and pray towards Mecca. And in Mecca, they all pray towards the Kaaba.
And there was another change earlier on in his message. He was asking them to face Jerusalem, and then later on,
and we're
within
getting
20 years,
there. We're getting there. And as we progress through the surah, we see that the change in the direction of the prayer is like it's going to be evident for everyone who's going to read this surah that direction has changed and got settled in this chapter. Okay? So we don't know where this Masjid al-Haram is because we don't know where it is because the Quran doesn't mention Mecca. It only mentions Mecca, and it does it once. So the Masjid al-Haram could be any of the other cuboids available at the time. We don't know which one it is. I'm just bringing up a point that a lot of scholars have brought up, that they are finding archaeological evidence of makeshift mosques in the desert that weren't pointing north, they weren't pointing towards Mecca, and they weren't pointing towards any particular direction. They were just out there pointing somewhere, and that's it. So either they were so bad at orienting themselves they couldn't point towards whatever they're supposed to point to, or these makeshift mosques were made during the time where this revelation was being promulgated, and they changed the direction as it was being promulgated, and we're finding that in the sands of the desert.
And you know what? I'm thinking about it now. The mention of the Bakka, which is the place of weeping and place of crying. Why, in my mind, I only have the image of the Wailing Wall. You know, that's the place of crying. And now I don't want to spread that conspiracy. Now it goes another thing that Muslim had to fight about is that wall again with the Jews. No, it's our place of crying. No, it's our place of crying.
I never thought of it until now, but Baka in Arabic means cry.
Well, it's a different Bakka. It's a double K Bakka.
Yeah.
So
Mecca is then where you cry a lot.
Either it's Mecca and the Quran has a spelling mistake in it, or it is somewhere else. We don't know where it is. Or you brought it up. Interesting. It does sound like a crying thing. So, but I don't find any apologists that would agree with that.
No, they will not.
They will just say, "Oh, you're acting like God." No way, right? But interesting, and I'm pointing out this verse. Yes, it is abrogated. We know what it is abrogated with, because the final word on which direction you should pray comes at 2:114 to 144. Sorry.
So on the point that if you're on this island in the Pacific, that you're going to be praying straight through the earth, and at certain points you're not really sure, is it east? I mean, because there's some places, somebody in the chat said, to the east of Mecca they pray to the west. Okay, well, when are you trying to make up these directions? If on a globe, would it matter?
Aaron, it's not a globe; it's flat. Remember?
It's like a
Kind of the
compass.
point
When
I
you
was
when you
headed
go on
for.
when you put a compass on the pole, it starts turning on itself. You can't just keep turning on yourself while you're praying.
Okay.
It's flat. It's not a ball.
That too.
Yeah, that's a heresy.
Are we ready
Okay,
for
so
116.
116.
Yep, they have asserted God has a child. May he be exalted. No, everything in the heavens and earth belongs to him. Everything devoutly obeys his will. He is the originator of the heavens and earth, and when he decrees something, he says only be, and it is. I'm a little confused here because the Quran is not written well. They say, God has a child, and may he be exalted. Are they talking about the child? Because it then says no.
No,
So
no,
they
no.
must be talking about the child.
No. God be exalted from that blasphemy.
Why
Having
does
a
it
child
say
is
no?
blasphemy.
So the Christians say God had a son. Exalted be God from that blasphemy.
And then it says no.
Right.
It's more like
Exalted.
a.
It's
I
like
mean,
a double. No way that's true. Exalted God from being that, and He owns what's in the heavens and what's in the earth, and you should all be just obedient to Him. But the translation is not very good. I'm not. The translation is not very good. So when He says, "They said Allah had a son," it should be a comma here, but it isn't. It should be an apostrophe. Allah is exalted from that. He's not having a son. There's no freaking way he's having a son, right?
Okay.
And then another semicolon, he owns what's in the heaven and the earth and yada, yada, yada. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like not saying no, but it's like rather he is. That's another translation.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and okay, here's another section where it seems to me that early Islam was connected a lot to Christianity, because we're not talking about Christian. It's another question that the Jews told Muhammad, like, "Oh, you're a Christian. You believe God had a son." And he's like, "No. We don't believe God had a son."
If God had a son, they would have said, and God took a son. But it says,
Yes.
they say God took a son.
So
Subhanahu is like exalted, meaning as of like, really?
yeah.
Really?
No.
So
Yeah.
someone
He's
else.
Allah
The
is
other thing
innocent
is,
of the charge. He did not father that son.
yes. So it is the situation where it's like Muhammad telling the Jews again, because this surah is mainly talking with and about the Jews and
The
the Jewish
Christians.
people and about them.
The Christians are the ones who claim God took a son.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I know, and I think it's the accusation that the Jewish accused Muhammad of being a Christian, and he was like, "No, we are different." Because
Yeah.
he's coming up with a new religion, talking about the Messiah and all those things that is very similar to what the Christian are claiming.
And notice the verses, the non sequitur needed. There's no continuity between the verses. He's talking about the where the sun comes and God's face is everywhere, and then switching to talk about the Christians claiming God has a son.
Right.
There's absolutely no continuity in logic or in language.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
mishmash.
it ends there and then he moves on to this. Right? It's a completely different subject. Well, sometimes there is a continuity. Usually it's not good, but 118 is my next note.
Yes, please.
Those who have no knowledge also say, if only God would speak to us, or if only a miraculous sign would come to us. People before them say the same things. Their hearts are all alike. We have made our signs clear enough to those who have solid faith.
Yeah.
Again, an excuse he gives whenever they ask for miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
we got-
supposed to believe what I told you because I told you shut up.
So we can't expect Allah to come on this show and defend himself. Because he's not going to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. Well, he said it. It's in the Quran. 120 is my next point.
Just a tweet. Just send one tweet.
What was that?
Like one tweet. Like he doesn't have to speak a lot.
Ah.
Just send like something.
Just send that tweet.
Yeah, but it has to come from a verified account.
You know, there is an English comedian who been forced to have a Twitter account, and he basically said that this is my my official Twitter account because there's other ones that have tried to be me. So God could do the same thing. He doesn't need to talk. He just need to say, "Here is my true thing, my true identity," because there's other gods claiming to be me. That will clear the whole thing out.
So 120, the Jews and the Christians will never be pleased with you unless you follow their ways. Say, God's guidance is the only true guidance. If you were to follow their desires after the knowledge that has come to you, you would find no one to protect you from God or help you.
Yes, so this is consistent with the abrogation prior.
How is it consistent with an abrogation? By definition, that's
because
inconsistent.
The abrogation that says nobody else goes to heaven but Muslims.
Yeah.
Neither the Jews nor the Christians. That's the abrogation it is consistent with, right? And neither the Jews nor the Christians will be happy with you unless you follow them. But you know, unless you follow them. But now that you have the words of Allah, you really shouldn't, because then now you can go to heaven and they can't. Right? 120, 121.
Those to whom we have given the scripture, who follow it as I say, who follow it as it deserves, are the ones who truly believe in it. Those who deny its truth will be the losers.
Ooh. Ooh, I thought we were doing good. I mean, come on. Yes. 125, unless somebody has something in between.
We made the house a resort and a sanctuary for people, saying, take the spot where Abraham stood as your place of prayer. We commanded Abraham and Ishmael, purify my house for those who walk around it, those who stay there, and those who bow and prostrate themselves in worship.
Yes.
And this is a perfect timing for this ayah, because it talks about the Hajj, and the Hajj is going on right now in Saudi Arabia.
Are they having it this year, or
Yeah,
is it not curtailed because of COVID?
they're well. That's why you know that the Almighty God doesn't have a lot of power over viruses, because they have been. They have last year they cut down on the numbers, and the same thing this year. It's very limited. So one of the things, you have to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated, to be able to go to Hajj this year. So there's a lot of things like steps you have to go through this year.
So
And I think that the numbers are limited again.
So the requirements went up. First, you have to wear your ihram, you have to be there, and you have to be vaccinated too. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So 125.
Oh, sorry.
Again, we are in the theme where we are going to change the direction you're going to pray, but we're not going to say it out loud yet. We're going to talk about Mecca. We're going to talk about the Holy Kaaba. We're going to talk about the origins of the Kaaba. We're going to paint this one up, because remember, Muhammad moved out of Mecca because they didn't like him there. Now he's in the Medina, and now he's going to get his followers to pray towards Mecca.
Yeah, this verse changes the Qibla, doesn't it?
Right. It's the Qibla right now is in trance. People pray to the north. Some people pray to whichever direction they want. They don't have a fixed point they pray towards.
No, I mean, not no, but from what I understood, the Qibla before the Kaaba was Jerusalem.
Yes.
And after the whole thing happened with the Jews, Muhammad doesn't like the Jews anymore, so he switched the Qibla to Mecca.
Well, he hasn't yet.
Huh.
He switched it to anywhere else he wants because I don't like the Jews. But he hasn't switched to Mecca yet. That's going to come at 144.
Oh, okay.
Right? That won't happen until 144, which is in our next episode.
Apparently, Muhammad was very happy that God changed the Qibla, but he was always too shy to ask God to do it for him. So he was very happy when this verse came down.
Okay, there's one big chunk here between 126 and 139. It talks about the building of the Kaaba. So Abraham asked God to make this city a safe city, a secure city, right? And give its dwellers fruits, and they should believe in the in the last day and the afterlife. And those who disbelieved in it, give him a little bit of joy, and then put them in fire, and give them bad fate at the end. So it starts off with this. There's Abraham making this call. Now, again, this is probably one of the reasons why scholars have problems with Mecca being what it is, because Mecca is kind of a desert place. It doesn't get to have fruits a lot. So they don't know where on the map to place the city that has fruits in it. 127, وَيَرْفَعُ أَبْرَاهِيمَ الْقَوَاعِدَ. So Abraham pulled the corners of the house up. And Ishmael was also helping him, I guess. And they were asking me to accept their offering, I guess, for building the house.
I got another question. Abedin Durakovic says, did they get this from some sort of pagan practice, the circling?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a practice prior to Islam, and it's even documented. Even the Hajj is a prior practice to Islam, and the Arabic polytheist believes, and it's like the go visit in the shrine or stuff like this is very common among a lot of or visit in holy sites is very common among a lot of religion, and it's but the specific things that we do see in like in Islam about their Hajj and what they do is exactly according even to Islam, like Sūrah and Hadith, that the non-believers prior to Islam did the same thing. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the traditions around the Hajj are taken from previous customs and religions and traditions. And they are symbolizing presumed historic events as they were thought to have happened. So Yeah, it's kind of a big ritual, if you like, but I guess it's a ritual. That's what it is.
It is.
We have been doing the first one we did on this was like about 2 hours or so, and we are sitting right at almost 2 hours now. So I think because we can't get to the end today, we're going to have to schedule another meeting still for the same surah. Are we all good for 1 week from today?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm good.
Very good, very good. Bogey, you got the last 5 minutes. Make your closing. End in a cliffhanger if you like.
Well, it's a cliffhanger. Hajj is happening. There are some rituals there being spoken about. Not much to get into. It's a lot of verbiage about what happened, who asked for what. Um, Probably not significant unless you're going to do the Hajj yourself, and probably not a good idea these days.
Yeah, especially not for me.
Interesting, the direction of prayer was changed to figure out who is with Muhammad and who is just lying about it. Okay, that's 143 is the last verse we want to address today. So we created you as a nation of mediocrity, of in between, of the middle, if you like. You may bear witness to the truth before others so that the messenger may bear witness before you. We only made the direction the one you used to face in order to distinguish those who follow you with the ones who are just lying about it. So here basically said, we are وجعلنا القبلة التي كنت عليها إلا لنعلم من يتبع الرسول. Right? So we pointed you towards that prayer direction just to know who is following you and who is not following you. So this is the verse we're going to stop out. There is and the next one is going to be the one that designates the Kaaba for, and we're going to leave that, the Kaaba for prayer direction, and we're going to leave that for the next episode, and we start off with that.
All right. Well, Kareem, thank you for, you're not one of the normal guests or the regular guests, and so I very much appreciate your contribution today.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. And if we're all good for next week, and I think we are, then we'll see you next week at 5 p.m. UTC.
Yes. Quick thing on abrogation. I just thought of there's an abrogation in Christianity where the entire New Testament abrogate the previous one. It's been done before.
Yeah, it leaves the Christians without the Ten Commandments. It's going to look silly, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close it up unless everybody get a minute to say goodbye or whatever.
Thanks.
And we'll close it out. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Very good.